development, and according to the Constitution of the All Progressive Congress, APC, it is now incumbent on my humble self, Senator Abubakar Kyari, as the Deputy National Chairman, North, to assume the office of the Acting National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Well, everybody has his own style of administration, and I think this present NWC will be in line with what the Constitution says.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, says welfare of troops, deepening joint operations, and a people-oriented armed forces will form the tripod upon which his administration will be placed. At a screening by the House of Representatives, members canvassed for a full-fledged defense space force to handle potential threats from the cyberspace and provide intelligence support for other security agencies. National Assembly correspondent Jakadisa reports.
16 years, Nigeria has witnessed a diverse and unprecedented level of insecurity in which the armed forces have been fully involved. The Tinubu administration is desirous to overcome challenges of insecurity and enhance economic growth. To achieve these, it has brought in new hands to run the affairs of the nation's security architecture. Days after the Nigerian Senate interfaced with the nominees, they take turns before the House of Representatives. The committee stresses the dire need for the citizens to see a remarkable difference in the state of the nation's security. The lawmakers want attention shifted to cyberspace crime.
It is important we have this kind of engagement so that we understand you better, know you better, and can carry the message directly to our people.
We urge you to effectively collaborate with sister security agencies to ensure that all security threats are completely neutralized and Nigerians can live peacefully.
In their responses, the security chiefs acknowledged tremendous challenges ahead of them. The commitment is to continue to uphold their constitutional role and safeguard the nation's territorial integrity.
I recognize the significance of leading thousands of devoted and distinguished servicemen and women to provide a secure and peaceful environment for the Nigerian people to freely engage in their legitimate enterprise in line with the constitutional mandates of the armed forces of Nigeria.
Never in the recent past is the requirement for proactive, adaptive, and inclusive leadership more needed than Nigeria's security environment of today.
For more than 3 hours, the committee grilled the nominees behind closed doors, and at the end, it says it has asked necessary questions and has been appropriately briefed.
They come from very, very practical background. They're people who have served and served well. They're people who also have shown that they have passion for the Nigerian people and for the troops in which they lead.
The report of the other committee is expected to be laid before the House of Representatives after the screening exercise. All eyes are indeed on the House of Representatives days after the Senate approved the appointment of the nominees. Jokedsa, TVC News.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, who is a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and former senator representing Taraba Central Senatorial Zone, Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, for discussion on President Tinubu's handling of governance and the economy. This is Politics Tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thanks a lot for staying with us. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and former senator representing Taraba Central Senatorial Zone, Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, for discussion on President Tinubu's handling of governance and the economy. Thank you very much for joining us, Senator.
Thank you very much.
Right. So let's start with one of the stories I read earlier, and that's the resignation of the APC National Chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, and the National Secretary, Yola Omishiri. What's your view on this?
Well, thank you very much. My view is very, very simple. It has been a turbulent, period for the leadership of APC. Since even, convention up to the campaigns and up till the primaries, campaigns and what have you. So it has been a turbulent one, but what I would say is that, these things come the way they are politically, and we should take it, in the light, the politics of this country. So their time is up, and I think, it's the time for them to go so that they can give room to new hands, that will handle the affairs of the All Progressive Congress.
So how will you advise the party to handle this to avoid a negative fallout? Well,
the party, will handle this, in a very, very, very easy form. Senator Obakar Kyari, who has been the deputy, chairman North, he has been part and parcel of the management of the party from inception. They came together, and also, the deputy chairman, in charge of North, in charge of South is also, there. So in the National Working Committee is only, two people that are out, and I think they should be able to work diligently, to actually, stabilize, the party. All what the party needs is, of its own motto, just go, just, and then unity, justice and unity. I mean, the party can do it very, very well. The remaining people, know about the party. They know what has happened. They know how to stabilize the party. The chairman has always been, as we read in the papers, has been, a major issue, and the secretary. But they are out now. I think the party should work towards the, stabilizing, its own, management.
All right, then. So let's leave that for a moment. Let's talk about the National Assembly. A new leadership and principal officers of the 10th National Assembly have emerged. What's your view on their ability to provide purposeful leadership for the legislature?
Well, again, thank you very much. Both the Senate President and the Speaker, the presiding, and their deputies, as the presiding, are officers of the National Assembly. They are not new. They have been known. They have worked so hard. The Senate President was in the 8th Assembly. The Speaker has been there all through. The Deputy Senate President was in the 8th Assembly. He has been member of the National Assembly. So, and also, the Deputy Speaker. So, I think, the National Assembly is in good hands. And I think, they should manage, the unity, to unify, the National Assembly, and they move forward with the exercise of being, parliamentarians.
Senator, you were a member of the 8th and 9th Senate, which many tagged as rubber stamp. Were you people really rubber stamp?
Pardon?
You were a part of the 8th and 9th Senate, which many tagged as rubber stamp. So I'm asking, you're here. Were you people really rubber stamp?
Well, both the 8th Assembly, the 9th Assembly, yes, I've been a member, but, many people talk about this rubber stamping. The senators, the members, House of Representatives, who have been elected by the people and representative of the people, have not been elected to come and antagonize, the executive. What they are coming to do is to work with the executive for the benefit of this country. So I don't think there was any rubber stamping in any way, both, at the 8th Assembly and at the 9th Assembly. So there wasn't anything like rubber stamping.
All right, so why do you think some Nigerians share that view?
About the bill?
About being rubber stamped.
Well, I think the the generality of the members of this country, need to understand that, the elected members, have their own, own terms of reference from the Constitution, from their own, books. What happened is that in the Ninth Assembly, there was a better understanding of the working relationship between the executive and the legislature, because there's a lot of, behind the scene, consultations, that otherwise would have created, some issues. But I mean, there was a lot more, understanding between the workings of the executive and then the working of the legislature. So that is why I think, there wasn't, the kind of things we saw in the 8th Assembly.
So do you see the 10th Senate adopting a different approach?
Well, I don't think, the 10th Assembly, or the presiding officers in the 10th Assembly can take a different approach. What different approach? Are they coming to antagonize, the executive? No, they are going to work in tandem with the executive. They are going to check the executive. The executive is going to check the legislature, because that is the presidential system of government, the checks and balances. Where some disagreement in principles, they go to the judiciary to sort it out. So I don't think, they will adopt, a different approach other than the approach that was adopted, in the 9th Assembly for consultation, and then understanding, one another in terms of, moving the country, in the right direction.
All right. So the 10th National Assembly has started on a rather controversial note with the issue of 70 billion naira approved for new members. Many Nigerians called this insensitive at a time like this. Do you share this sentiment?
Well, again, thank you very much. The Nigerians need to understand, the workings of the National Assembly. If you say 70 billion is for the whole of the activities of the National Assembly. It is not just for the senators and members House of Representatives. It's for the Senate, the members House of the House of Representatives, the management of National Assembly, even, both the recurrent, the capital, the staff, and everything is within the 70 billion. I don't think, subject to, the kind of information we may require, but from my own knowledge of National Assembly, how it works, and then what the money is going to be used for, I don't think, 70 billion, is a big sum of money.
Right, but some Nigerians are saying this is a lot of money, especially at this time when ordinary Nigerians have to sacrifice a lot.
Well, the National Assembly that I know of, there are a lot of, even infrastructures that need to be done, and also, remember, there are 469, members, and each member, of the National Assembly has about, about 5 or 6 people, working with them, and then, there are some committees. I mean, there's a whole gamble of what is the staff strength of the National Assembly Service Commission. It's also part and parcel of this 70 billion. So it is not just, money just for the senators and members House of Representatives to come and share. No, it is not like that. It is for the whole gamut of the activities of the National Assembly, from Service Commission, the management, the infrastructure, the capital, the recurrent, and all sorts of things. So I think, probably they need to provide, clear, our understanding, and then the clear how the money is going to be, distributed and then used for the purpose for which the money is meant for.
So for you, this is a step in the right direction, and you're also saying the timing is okay. Is that it, Senator?
Well, the timing is okay. I mean, the National Assembly has just reconvened, and there are a lot of, infrastructure that need to be done, and the staff, like I said, need to be paid. The capital needs to be done. A lot of repairs that need to be done. So there are so many things, just that, many people don't even know, why did the chambers had to move from where they are to their temporary status, because the chambers where they are, even there were even leakages, there were so many issues around the corner of repairs and what have you. So I think it's matter of, putting what the money is being used for, for the Nigerian people to see, and I'm sure the Nigerian people will appreciate it.
Okay. So what do you think the leadership of the National Assembly should do to support the required reforms needed to revive the economy?
Unifying the National Assembly?
What do you think the leadership of the National Assembly should do to support the required support needed to revive the economy?
Okay, the support of the Nigerian people. Engage the Nigerian people, engage the media, sit down with the media, talk to the Nigerian people, communicate with the Nigerian people. They have their own constituencies. They should move to their own constituencies, go and sit down with the various aspects of their constituencies, and then explain things to them. Let them, communicate with them so that to understand one another. So that it is not just that this money has come and then you sit down in Abuja without going to your various constituencies to go and engage with the members of your constituency, on both lateral and vertical and horizontal. So I think, we need to engage the Nigerian people, so that the Nigerian people can really know that the work of lawmaking, the work of oversighting the executive, and protecting the interests of the constituencies, need to be done, in a proper, clear, and efficient and effective manner.
Senator, I do not think you got my question correctly. What I asked is, what do you think the leadership of the National Assembly should do to support the required reforms needed to revive the economy?
Oh, okay. I now see. Well, first and foremost is that, to engage the executive. Engaging the executive in terms of understanding, the principles behind, the executive policies. I'm sure you'll be talking about, what will they do, to support, the subsidy issue, the margin of the exchange rates, and all others. Yes, is to engage the executive. There are very, very many committees. We know that very soon, the executive is going to, probably send the names of the ministers, for confirmation of the Senate. And it is after that, there should be a strong and tighter relationship with so much, our understanding of how the economy, should move in terms of making the benefits, for the common man in this country. So I think it's a matter of close communication, behind the scene discussions, and then, doing their own oversight job in the best way they could.
All right, so let's move on to another issue. That's petrol subsidy removal and the need for palliatives. How will you describe the way President Tinubu has handled the matter?
Which of the matters?
The issue of petrol subsidy removal and the need for palliatives. How will you describe the way President Tinubu has handled the matter?
You see, subsidy, is a very, very complicated issue, and it ought to have been removed long time ago. But, he has just come in and he decided, to take the bull by the horn to remove the subsidy. But behind removing the subsidy, one thing I would suggest is that, we should look at the economics of why the subsidy in the first place. We should go to the fundamental. The fundamental is simply the value of the Naira. Today, if the value of the Naira vis-a-vis the dollar, let's assume it's 300 Naira to a dollar, we might not even, talk about subsidy. So it is now, let us, take a proper understanding. Is our Naira overvalued or undervalued? This has been a serious issue, but a lot of people don't seem to want to look at it from that point of view. For me, in my own, opinion, I think our Naira is undervalued. And if the Naira in reality is undervalued, and superficially, people think that it's overvalued, and you are taking, you know, the policies, you know, to attack overvaluation instead of you know, to look at, you know, the undervalue of the Naira. I think a lot of things, you know, needs to be. So we need to look at the fundamentals so that, you know, we can adjust the fundamentals vis-a-vis the value of a Naira, vis-a-vis, you know, the other foreign currencies.
The president has earmarked 800 billion naira for 12 million Nigerians. How adequate do you consider this to cushion the effect of subsidy removal on citizens?
Well, again, you know, I will just give you my opinion. My opinion is simple. Who are the primary beneficiaries of the subsidy removal? For me, you know, I think government should not take it 100%, you know, on the palliatives. Government should provide the enabling environment, you know, for the palliatives, you know, to be effective. One, we know that the transportation sector is very, very important, you know, and then, you know, and also, you know, the movement of goods and services, which is also transportation, you know, the labor side of it, you know. So all these things, I think what the government should do, in my own opinion, you know, should look at it in such a way as to provide enabling environment. For instance, if transporters want to import, you know, vehicles into this country, but it is the environment that the government could decide to say, well, instead of me to provide, you know, money, you know, go to the banks, let the government declare that transportation, for instance, is a priority sector of this country, of the economy. So if it is the priority sector of this economy, you know, let there be concrete relationship between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. How will it be done? You know, the banks are not being utilized. The banks are not being used for the purpose for which they are. A licensed bank, you know, has the guarantee of the sovereign. What are they paying for that guarantee? Therefore, there should be what I call guided sectoral allocation of credits. It is not by fiat, it is by guided by the fiscal policy, using the fiscal policy to put resources, you know, into the transportation sector, into the industry and what have you, in such a way that it will reduce the hardship, you know, on the common man in this country. So I think is to provide enabling environment rather than, you know, bringing out money, you know, to dole out, you know, as in support of, you know, a consumption, because that money will be consumed in less than 2, 3, 5 months. And what do you do again? You bring another money to provide, you know, soccer again. No, I think it is the environment that needs to be provided, enabled, so that, you know, the private sector can take a big chunk of all the palliatives that the government, you know, is planning to do.
All right, so apart from creating enabling environments, what other measures do you think the federal government should institute to support vulnerable Nigerians?
Well, again, you know, this is another issue that will. When I was the chairman of special duties, you know, in the committee at the Senate, you know, we decided to look at it, you know, from the humanitarian point of view. Yes, you know, people are suffering, but, you know, this idea of giving people, you know, every month some little money here and there, you know, there should be, you know, other ways of making them to be more productive. I give you an example. You know, in Empower program, you know, every participant in Empower was paid 30,000 naira a month over a period of probably, you know, 2 years, 3 years, and they are supposed to be in their own local environment. So there shouldn't be any cost of transportation. There shouldn't be any high cost of living there. They are supposed to have been enabled to save money, so that by the time they exit the Empower, they should be able to invest that little money for their own empowerment. So these are the issues that I think we should look into, rather than, you know, just doling out money which will be inflationary in the end. So I think that's, in my own opinion, what government should look into.
All right, so Another critical issue in the country is the value of the Naira. Senator, do you think it's right to float our currency?
Well, in my own opinion, we have to look at it in the short run, medium, and long term. Why do I say so? You know, studies right since the inception of SAP in 1985, 1986, I think there were some distortions, you know, in the markets there. While the financial sector, the product market were liberalized, you know, the labor market, you know, was not liberalized as such. So, and therefore, all these things are tied to the value of the Naira. I give you an example. You know, when in the 8th Assembly and the 9th Assembly, I did a motion on what I call, you know, the non-repatriation of export proceeds. You know, there is a law in this country which says export proceeds by exporters must be repatriated within 90 days of bill of lading. If these proceeds are repatriated in this country, there will be a big float, you know, of foreign exchange. And, you know, it will be a better management that probably will reduce, you know, the impact of the depreciation value of the Naira. For instance, are we getting, you know, the whole value of the crude oil that we export in this country? Studies have shown that we do not get more than 60% of the value of the export of crude oil value out of this country. So if you discount the Naira value, you know, by 40%, what will you get? So there are so many things that need to be applied to look at it. What is the concrete? What is the fair value of the Naira? Rather than just, you know, speculative way of doing it. I think we are not looking at it in the right direction.
So what do you think is the right direction?
Well, my suggestion is simple. You know, my Naira, the Nigerian Naira, is undervalued. It's not overvalued. It has been recently, you know, supported, you know, by some World Bank experts. So we look at policies that are going to improve, you know, our export earnings, so that we can generate more export proceeds, so that we can build in reserve, and then look at the Nigerian person. We have pensions for importation of foreign goods. The luxury goods that we import into this country, we can't afford it. So government should look at it in terms of how will they curtail importation of, you know, our luxuries into this country, luxuries we cannot afford. You know, so once government will tie its own policies of determining, you know, the rate at which, you know, we spend, you know, our little foreign exchange, how we are going to conserve it, how we are going to preserve it, I think, you know, together with getting the real value of the exports of our goods and services out of this country, I think we are going to get, you know, a better, you know, and a fairer value of the Naira.
All right, Senator, let's take a break. Tonight we're discussing President Tinubu's handling of governance and the economy with a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC and former senator representing Taraba Central Senatorial Zone, Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf. Let's take a break and I'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
It's always a great morning on the TVC Breakfast Show.
Thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
With the array of stories that matter and what's behind them.
As you say, the first blow indicates the direction of government.
Tell us what really is going on between your union and the federal government.
Once it's generated,
if you don't use it, it's waste. We are not even sure whether we have a strategy for security.
Are you saying that there was nothing wrong in that?
Was he the one driving the taxi?
Answer the question.
Reveal your morning with all you need to know.
Like yes.
Just mundane lyrics.
Yes.
How does that fit into your scheme of events or duties right now?
No chief of staff, no general has the right to call a governor to order. The governor has been elected by his people.
Start your day right, because this is the breakfast show that adds to your breakfast. TVC Breakfast, weekdays at 7 a.m. only on TVC News.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. This is Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. I've been speaking with a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC and former senator representing Taraba Central Senatorial Zone, Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, tonight to discussing President Tinubu's handling of governance and the economy. All right, Senator, now before we went on break, we were talking about the value of the Naira. So what impact do you think the convergence of the exchange rate will have an exchange rate stability?
Well, first of all, it will reduce, rent seeking. People, who hitherto, were using the Naira in a superfluous way. You get the Naira at an official rate, and then, launder it, into a market rate. So it will reduce that rent seeking, no doubt about it. But what we are saying that we are tending towards undervaluing the Naira. And since we are tending towards undervaluing the Naira, we should be very, very cautious, as to not to depreciate the Naira further. Secondly, you see, in this country, there's what we call, everywhere, there's what we call, the learning curve. If the learning curve of these speculators, is very, very short, we are still, going to have a gap again if care is not taken. That is why I said the policies that we think, are solving the problem, the disease is undervaluation. The disease is not overvaluation. So there's no need to continue to think that you can depreciate your Naira further and further in order to match, so the impact is, to reduce rent seeking, and then secondly, to make probably our export, more competitive, and also to reduce, frivolous, consumption, of goods and services, especially the luxuries and what have you. So I think this is the direction, in which, is going. So, and it's going to stabilize, the understanding of the economy, and also, the exporters, the importers are going to have, some kind of, stable, currency in terms of they will make their own projections, in terms of, what profit or what income they are going to make out of this, without the hitherto a wide gap, which will reduce production. People will prefer to speculate rather than to send to put the money into productive use. So the economy is going to be better efficient. The economy is going to be better management. The economy is going to be better understood. And so I think, the government, is pushing in the right direction. The only thing is that, we have to be very, very cautious in terms of the learning curve of the speculators. If the speculators, could learn very, very quickly and they will go ahead of government, then before you know it, instead of the Naira, stabilizing where it is today, we'll be thinking about the Naira stabilizing probably before the end of the year, maybe about 1,000 Naira, to $1, already, you know, the black market is going to about, has gone to about, you know, 840. You know, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? So if care is not taken, that, you know, we have to find, you know, another, you know, margin of the rest once again. So until we improve the productivity of this country in terms of what we export, and also, you know, reduce our pensions for foreign goods and what we import, you know, we have to de-dollarize, you know, the Nigerian economy. You know, the dollar has eaten into us. People are even, you know, charging dollar prices today. I mean, in this economy. So I think, you know, the government has started well. The government is tending too well. There's good intention to do that, but the government, you know, will also have to do what it has started doing. The monetary policy, they are looking into it very, very well. You know, the fiscal policies, taxation and what have you, is being looked into very well. So probably by the time the two reports, you know, are converged, you know, to the government will have, you know, a better, you know, direction in which, you know, it can manage, you know, the value of the Naira.
All right, Senator. So considering all of this you've said, what other reforms do you think the country requires to sanitize its monetary system?
Well, again, you know, in our own monetary system, you know, what can a monetarist do other than, you know, you play with your own, you know, interest rate, and you play with your money supply and what have you. So, you know, I think, you know, the central bank, you know, should also look in the area, you know, of managing, you know, the financial sector better in terms of let the banks do what they should do in line with the priorities of government. Government should prioritize, you know, the sectors of the economy. And then the government should use fiscal means in determining where the resources of banks should go. If small and medium enterprises is where can give us, you know, a greater, you know, uplift in our GDP, let the government make it possible for banks to look into that side. If it is industries, let the government apply, you know, fiscal tools to make banks to look into that side. So for me, it's just an interplay of coordinated action between the monetary and the fiscal policy. We should not leave them, you know, as they were before, where there was like a sort of uncoordinated, you know, interferences into one another.
So how will you assess the way President Tinubu has handled the economy so far?
Well, I would say he has done it well. He has done very, very well within the very short time that he's there. In fact, I don't even expect less. I've known him, you know, a man that, you know, can take, you know, our decisions, you know, as they are. I mean, in the Earth Assembly, we have said, many of us have said, it is going to be tough for the Nigerian people. But it will be, you know, short and medium. By the time it's long run, you know, everything will adjust itself. So I think he has taken, in the short run, he has taken, you know, the right steps to take. So with these studies that are coming, monetary policy and fiscal policy, you know, it will going to be, you know, in the right direction. He should avoid, you know, situation whereby we will have a deficit budgeting system, you know, and then he should look at, is there any possibility today that we will have, you know, a surplus budget? Why can't we? So, and then, you know, the borrowing, you know, yes, we must borrow if the borrowing is going to be for projects that will sustain itself, but we should not borrow as before for consumption. So I think, you know, is in the right direction, and I look forward to hearing, you know, further, you know, areas of engagement like the labor is very, very important. You know, the labor is taken into consideration. If they say they want 200, you know, 1,000 naira per month as a minimum wage, what are they going to use the money for? You know, we should use that money to improve savings and whatever. So there are so many areas in which the government could, but it has started very, very well in the right direction. All what they need to do is to dot the I's and then to cross the T's.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, Senator, Nigeria used to have development plans to drive growth. Would you advocate a return to that era?
To drive growth?
Nigeria used to have development plans to drive growth. Would you advocate a return to that era?
You see, yes, we should. You see, in the past, what I have observed when I was in the National Assembly is that we budget before we plan. You know, that is why, you know, the agencies of government will go to Ministry of Finance, Ministry of National Planning, and they will give them an envelope. This is what you are going to use the money for. That means they are budgeted before they even, you know, are planned. So we should now go into the planning before we budget. We should have long-term plans as we were doing before. There's no reason why we shouldn't. You know, in the age, you know, ICT, in the age of computers, in the age of information, you know, is available. All what we need is to harness the information and put them better use and then develop long-term plans. I think we should go back to those areas.
All right. So, I mean, revenue generation shortfall is a major challenge in the country. What do you think the president needs to do to boost revenue?
To bring development again?
All right. Revenue generation shortfall is a major challenge in the country. What do you think the president needs to do to boost revenue?
Well, revenue shortfalls, yes, there are serious issues. You know, in the area of taxation, you know, I think we should widen the net of taxation horizontally, you know, and so that we should capture, we should bring into the net all areas that ought to have been part of, you know, areas to be taxed. You know, in this country, you know, I bet to agree with some people. I think we are undertaxed. I don't know, there are so many areas that are undertaxed. You know, yes, the civil servants are taxed, the public servants are taxed, yes, the private sector, you know, they're taxed, you know, the salary earners, but there are so many areas that need to be taxed. Another area is to harness, you know, the income coming from the export of our crude oil. There's a lot of, you know, stealing, there's a lot of thievery there, you know, so we must find a way to plug those holes so that we can generate more revenue. So, and then, if you generate revenue, are you going to carelessly spend it on luxury goods? You know, we import so many of these vehicles into this country, you know, and we have Innoson, you know, that is producing vehicles into this country, you know. So why are we continuously not minding how much foreign exchange we are going to spend on luxuries? We do not afford the luxury that we are spending our money on at this point in time. The government must look into that direction to reserve and conserve revenue, scanty revenue that it is generating.
Oh, so you talked about widening the tax net. What are those areas you think the president needs to focus on?
There are so many areas that, in my own opinion, you know, can be taxed. Like I said, luxury, you know, all these, you know, smartphones, you know, so many of them in this country. I don't know how much of them. Yes, people will bring the issue of VAT. It will be double taxation and whatever. How about the consumption? You know, so it is just to harness and understand that we in this economy, we all of us must put our hands on deck, and not just the government. What is the role of the citizens of this country? The Constitution of this country has clearly defined the role of the citizens of this country. So it is not only government, the citizen also should play a role by supporting the government to provide, you know, better ways of managing this economy. We must change our attitudes. our attitudes towards, pensions for foreign goods, we must change it. If you look at, our dresses these days, 80–90% of our dresses, are foreign. Television sets are foreign. Our vehicles are foreign. Our tires are foreign. All the industries that we had in those days that were producing tires, that were doing assembly plants, all the industries have gone. And all of this is tied to what I call unfair value of the Naira. So once the Naira is fairly valued, investors will come in, and they will make good use of the resources that are available. So I think government needs to look at the whole gamut of how to generate, revenue, and then how to spend that revenue, and then to tell the citizens of this country in clear terms, it is not business as usual. We do not have that luxury of spending the kind of expenditure we do on foreign goods. We do not have the luxury at this point in time. And maybe the government can also look in the area of restructuring the civil service and also restructuring the public service, and also, bringing in, the major employer of labor should be the private sector. So there should be an enabling environment, for all these areas, to be harnessed, by government in tandem with the understanding of the common man in this country. Also, like I've always said, there should be what I call, we have a vertical relationship between the federal government, state government, and probably local government. So we should have cooperative federalism. We should have consultative federalism. What are the states doing now that the federal government has removed the subsidy? What is the contribution of the states in terms of aligning or helping federal government to realize the objective for reducing the subsidy or removing the subsidy? So
all right,
in that area, also in aligning the value of the Naira, what are the state governments doing? Will they just sit down and say, well, it is the responsibility of the government since it is currency, let the government? No. We should have consultative and cooperative federalism to look at into all these issues so that we can have a unified direction in which we can solve the problem of this country. And not just the problem of federal government, it is the problem of state government as well.
All right, so let's move away from economic matters to the president's cabinet. New ministers are being awaited. For you, what sort of people are you expecting to form the next cabinet?
Well, I think the president has said that, he's going to use merit. That's what I expect. Use merit. Look at people who merit, to be appointed as ministers. People who have the national ethos in them. People who understand the challenges that we have at this point in time. But I'm happy that, in the 8th Assembly we have made, made it possible that there is now a law. The executive will send the list of ministers. Attached to them is their own portfolios. So we should know who is a mismatch or who is not, but he said he's going to use merit, and then he's going to use merit for national unity. So I expect, him in that direction to bring a people who are national in outlook, people who respect, the nationhood of this country, and people who have the merit, whether it's economics, whether it's medical, whether it's, commerce, whether it is agriculture, and what have you. People who merit, people who understand where we are today and how they will also put in, the new hope, that Mr. President, is bringing to the table. So the people should.
All right, Senator. So some people.
I expect people in that direction.
Some people are backing the appointment of a large number of technocrats as ministers in President Tinubu's cabinet. What's your view on this?
Well, by simple, putting things on the table, the technocrats, my understanding, knows a lot more of the economy, than others. So I think, he should have more technocrats, no doubt about it, who know the technicalities of running the economy, whether it is a political economy we are talking about, whether social economy we are talking about, or economy of economics they are talking about. So I think, I believe they should have a lot more technocrats, in the administration of this country at the federal level.
Also, quickly, what areas will you advise President Tinubu to focus on towards reviving, or rather driving rapid development of the country?
Well, thank you very much. One area, that I think, which he has started well, the structure of the tax structure of this country. Everywhere in this world, they are going into tax reforms. I think, he should lay more emphasis on tax reforms and also monetary policy reforms. These are areas that are going to play a major role in moving the country forward. And also, I said you should do a civil service and a public service reforms. No matter how you do, if the engine of work is not reformed, I'm not sure if, you will have a reformed development. So you should also look at in that area. Now, relationship with labor is very important. And they have started well, they are negotiating, but all what I will say is that welfare. Labor should stick to their own welfare and not to go to other areas that are exclusively government preserved. So he should also negotiate, with the labor in that direction. Like I also say, the office of the vice president, also, is heading, economic, matters in this country. So they should also sit down with the state governors.
All right, Senator.
Align their thinking.
Thank you very much for coming on the program. Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Senator Abubakar Yusuf, representing Taraba Central Senatorial Zone. Thank you very much for coming on the program. I sincerely appreciate your contribution tonight. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate.
All right. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Goodbye.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
In the month of July, on the 2nd of July, the global community celebrates World Sports Journalists Day. The 5th of July is the first anniversary of the Kuje prison attack when some Boko Haram insurgents escaped. The 7th of July marks 25 years since the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, MKO Abiola, died. His death occurred in 1998. 11th of July is World Population Day, while 15th is World Youth Skills Day. On the 17th, attention is turned to World Day for International Justice, while 18th of July is Nelson Mandela Day to honor the former South African leader. 25th of July is the World Diaspora Day, and on the 28th, the World Hepatitis Day is commemorated, as well as the World Nature Conservation Day. On the 29th of July,
President Bola Tinubu will mark 2 months in office, and the 30th of July is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Brace up and tune in to TVC News for in-depth analysis and reports. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour when the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Feel the power. Welcome to Righteous Invasion of Truth with Dr. Abel Damina.